For the next 4 weeks, I'll be traveling by myself through India.
Head to the red fort. Traffic is thick.
Starting in North India, I'll spend some time in Delhi and Agra before heading east to the spiritual cities of Bodh Gaya and Varanasi. Then it's south, to the jungle and beaches of Goa, where I'll be filming a documentary about an Indian beekeeper. And dancing in the new year on the beach. Finally, I'll get a little bit off the beaten track to spend a few days in the city of Aurangabad, exploring the nearby Ajanta and Ellora caves, before ending my trip in the amazing city of Mumbai.
Alright, so heading to Paharganj, the backpackers area, but I really don't know where I'm going here.
Best guy
Kuru
for
Kuru and Khan.
Kuru and Khan,
That's right.
my friend.
Very strong. Everybody say namaste. All right, first leg. Heading to the airport. I'm nervous, and this has been a 17-year in the making trip. So we're in Toronto, and looking forward sort of to a 14-hour flight landing in New Delhi in about 10 and a half hours into the future. My amazing brother is being the chauffeur. It's cold in Canada, and it'll be warmer in India. See you there.
I'm both nervous and excited to start this whole adventure. The seed was planted years ago to visit India. After a 3-month trip to Nepal back in 2001 and meeting other travelers who were simply gushing about India, I knew I wanted to go. Almost every year since, my annual holiday planning usually started with India. I planned the route, do the research, learn more and more about the places I wanted to see, and always it was put off for another day. Someday. India seems so big, so overwhelming. So much time and planning needed to do the big one, the mecca of solo backpacking. I enjoyed all the other trips that I'd substituted over the years. Thailand, Costa Rica, Caribbean, Guatemala. But it was finally time for the big one. I could describe a myriad of excuses for why it took me so long, but truthfully, fear stopped me. This year, I decided to meet my fears head on, embrace them, and just book the damn trip. I pre-arranged accommodation for the first 10 days of my trip with the help of a company called India Someday, whose name immediately resonated with me when I found them on Google, and they ended up being super helpful throughout the entire trip. A driver was waiting to pick me up and bring me to my guest house, a homestay in the south end of the city. I was exhausted when I got to the guest house and hit the mattress hard.
I did arrive in Delhi, really excited to get out there and start exploring. I'm staying in South Delhi and woken up at 5:30 a.m. because the prayers are paraded through the streets. It was a group of maybe 100 people or so sort of walking by drumming, and they had a loudspeaker and they were singing their prayers, and I simply couldn't get back to sleep after that. So just thought I'd show you the guest house here. I'm traveling independently, but got all my transportation and accommodation booked for the first 10 days anyways, and then I'm going to fly to South India, and from there it'll be a full-on adventure with nothing pre-booked. Sort of typical Indian bathroom shower room. You do need to turn the tank on a few minutes before taking your shower. Had a little bit of issues trying to figure out how to both turn on and turn off the lights. Kind of a bonus here is that I got my own private balcony out here, which is kind of nice. Just heading out to figure out the metro. I'm planning to see the Red Fort, Spice Market, Chandi Chowk, and basically just going to wander around my first day in Delhi, in India. Very excited. Cheers.
All right, guys, heading out in Delhi, trying to figure out the metro and having an adventure. Here we go. Looks like I might have found it here. Appears to be the right place.
Chandi Chowk means moonlit square, and it was built 300 years ago as the main street in Old Delhi. The area is a huge market for everything from spices to fabrics, jewelry, and hardware. And there's lots of food and fresh chai tea.
All right, so heading to Paharganj, which is the backpackers area. Jumped in a rickshaw because I've been walking around. I really don't know where I'm going here. I'm tired, need some lunch, so that's where we're heading.
Surprise me with your old school charm. Wash over me and overwhelm with all your sights and sounds and mixed bags, smells and spices, cows and shit, and fresh chai tea. I take a sip. All your quirks and street thick vibes, turning corners, turning finding forces, tuk-tuk rides, exotic, chaotic, almost
All right, so headed to the Red Fort here. Sorry, I'm talking by phone. Heading to the Red Fort. Traffic is thick.
A UNESCO World Heritage Site, the Red Fort, or Lal Killa, was originally white, with parts of the building made from limestone. When the white stones started chipping off, the fort was painted red by the British. Every year on Independence Day, India's Prime Minister gives a speech and raises the national flag here. This tradition has been continuing since the first Independence Day of India. After a long first day in India, I found my way to a metro station. But it was rush hour, and the crush of people trying to get into the cars was a bit intimidating. When the train arrived, I noticed one of the cars was almost empty for some reason, and I made a beeline for it. I didn't realize until after I got on that it was reserved for women only. No one said anything to me, and I sheepishly made my way to the men's car and kind of leaned myself into the massive bodies. Later, I picked up a weird corn and paneer pizza from the Domino's near my homestay and chilled out on the balcony. Tomorrow would be an early morning to catch a train to Agra to see the Taj Mahal.
to catch a train to Agra. I'm staying in South Delhi. It's an Afghan neighborhood. The nice thing is that the express train that will take you to Agra is only about a 10 or 15 minute rickshaw ride away. Agra, of course, is where the Taj Mahal is. Been waiting a long time to see this, so really looking forward to it.
On the train, I met Julia and Mark from Britain, and we decided to hang out and hire a taxi and guide together for the day. Our guide, Khan, quickly proved his worth as he somehow hustled us through the huge long lineup to the Taj. The Taj Mahal means crown of palaces, and it's India's most famous mausoleum. Made entirely of marble, it took over 22,000 laborers 20 years to build, and it was finished in 1653.
Khan, you're the man. You're the man.
Oh my God. My name is Shehzad Khan.
And me?
Your name is the Crook.
Kuru, Kuru.
Kuru Kuru.
All right.
Attracting over 1 million tourists a year, this apparently is the most popular spot at the Taj to get your picture taken.
Hi.
This is
He's
Khan.
my friend, Mr.
The
Crook.
best guide in the world.
He's the best guy
Kuru,
for
Kuru and Khan.
Kuru Kuru and Khan.
That's right.
My friend.
It turns out, however, that Khan is a bit of a con artist. After the Taj Mahal, we asked Khan and our driver to take us to Agra Fort. Yeah, Khan had other ideas. Instead, he took us to a carpet shop, a jewelry and gem shop,
Person about the jewelry, but always they buy on trust.
a ceramics workshop, a music store,
Sir.
No, thank you. I'm good.
and some other shop.
So this is the stone is a
Yeah, I gotta say, I like the music store. And we got to jump in a yarn. After lunch, Khan and our driver brought us to Agra Fort. Originally built in 1565 by Emperor Akbar as a military structure, at the end of his life it ended up being his prison, where he was locked in by his own son for political reasons. It's said that his room had a decent view of the Taj Mahal, which he had just finished constructing a few years earlier. I quickly fell asleep on the train back to Delhi, but not before a long conversation with my new friend Rajit, who enjoys talking about politics but doesn't like peanuts or music. In the middle of the night, I woke up with a bad case of deli belly. Might have been the train food I had the night before. The family I was staying with nursed me back to health, and I was back on my feet the following day, ready to continue the next leg of my trip. I was flying to Bodh Gaya, the place of Buddha's enlightenment. It's one of the most important Buddhist pilgrimages in the world, and I had been waiting to come here for years. I'd be staying with a large family who run the Terra Guest House, which helps support a local children's school. I was hesitant to stay here at first because it's on the outskirts of town, but it turned out to be a great place to meet other travelers, and it was also really nice to get to know the host family.
So I'm here in Bodh Gaya. Bodh Gaya is where the Prince Siddhartha attained enlightenment about 2,600 years ago. I became familiar with Bodh Gaya a number of years ago when I spent a month at a Tibetan monastery in Nepal, just outside of Kathmandu. And after the retreat, all the monks from the monastery were going to basically doing a pilgrimage overland to Bodh Gaya, where the Dalai Lama comes and teaches. It's called Kalachakra for several weeks over January and February. So what I'm doing now is I'm looking for the Roots Institute, which is affiliated with Kopan Monastery in Nepal. It's been a lot of years since I've been waiting to come here. So I'll show you some video clips from around town. Maybe I'll become enlightened.
The Roots Institute was founded by Lama Zopa Rinpoche and hosts meditation retreats through the year. It also provides support services to impoverished children and families in the area. Students from all over the world come to study here, and Richard Gere was due to show up in a few days.
I know you. Come closer.
So I'm just going to talk quietly here. Meditation is in session. What a beautiful, peaceful place. Really brings back memories of Kopan for me. So the Dalai Lama is going to be arriving here in Bodh Gaya the day after I leave. I'm sure he's going to be quite disappointed that he missed me. A little bit later on in the day, I'm going to be heading down to the Mahabodhi Temple, which is the temple that was erected where the Buddha attained enlightenment.
I headed out towards the Mahabodhi Temple, but along the main road I came across a local fair, complete with Ferris wheel and motorcycle daredevil show.
Near the Mahabodhi Temple lies familiar fun. The smell of popcorn in the air. The fair is back in town. The kids are spinning round and round. The guns are making popping sounds. The next day, just across the road, another fair opens its abode.
The next day, there was some competition when an identical fair opened up directly across the street. Even more excitement with Year and Light.
The guns and games and all the same rides. Two fairs in Bodh Gaya now coincide. Now there's even more excitement in the sacred land of enlightenment. Bodh Gaya.
Okay, dhanyavad. Namaste.
I was headed to the Mahabodhi Temple and the famous Bodhi tree where Buddha attained enlightenment. I asked for directions and set out to find it. Bodh Gaya is like Mecca for Buddhists, and it's the holiest of 4 pilgrim destinations. Later in my trip, I'll also be visiting Sarnath, another holy site where the Buddha gave his first teaching after attaining enlightenment. Bihar is the poorest state in the country, and it has a bit of a reputation for being somewhat lawless, a little like the Old West depending on where you are. A big sign at the airport greets visitors on arrival, reminding you that alcohol is strictly forbidden and punishment is severe. Bong lassis, however, are on a few of the menus here. The Mahabodhi temple was built on the exact spot where Buddha achieved enlightenment after meditating under a Bodhi tree 2,600 years ago. Buddhists from all over the world come to Bodh Gaya to meditate and do prostrations under the temple and around the Bodhi tree, a descendant of the original tree. The temple was built in 260 BC by Emperor Ashoka and is now a UNESCO World Heritage Site. In 2003, the complex was bombed and security is now higher. Cell phones aren't allowed inside and there's a fee for cameras. The energy here is palpable, and it's one of the most peaceful places I've experienced. It's said that thousands of years of karma can be purified by simply walking around the temple a few times. And I did my best to knock off a few years. After the Mahabodhi temple, I headed back to the guest house. My time in Bodh Gaya was wrapping up, and I'd be leaving tomorrow for Varanasi, another pilgrimage city in India, this time for Hindus. I'll never forget this place though, and if I'm lucky, I hope to be back one day.
They're piping monk chanting through the sound system, which is calming. So next stop is Varanasi. After an amazing few days here in Bodh Gaya, it's only about a half an hour flight to Varanasi, and we're spending 5 days there, 4 nights, and it's Christmas today.
The water-activated lights are not installation. I'll be meeting aircraft. Thank you.
I'd read about Varanasi in a travel magazine about 1 million years ago, and I've wanted to visit ever since. Taxis and rickshaws can't navigate the small alleyways of the old city, and we had to walk to the hotel. Varanasi, once known as Benares, is India's most sacred city, and it's one of the oldest living cities in the world. Hindus believe that dying here and having their ashes thrown in the Ganga River brings salvation from the cycle of reincarnation. There are cremations and burning bodies on the banks of the river 24 hours a day, and the city can be a bit overwhelming. My hotel was at the end of an alley overlooking the Ghats, which means steps down to the river. I was planning on spending several days in Varanasi, and I had booked a room at the Kedareshwar guest house, which had a great balcony overlooking the river. My room did come with a monkey warning though, which meant keeping the windows and doors locked. The next morning, I headed out to explore the city and wander around the back alleys and Ghats of Varanasi.
Very strong.
Wood is a big business in Varanasi. Bodies are continuously burned on the banks of the river, and a lot of wood is needed for the cremations. Wood is sold by weight, with different prices for different types of wood. The wealthier you are usually means a longer, hotter cremation.
Varanasi, beautiful and old. Don't wear your classy shoes here, poo smears, unless you're in the new city. Old history lies here. 3,000 years of turning, bodies always burning on the steps to Mother Ganga, and her water is slowly churning. The frailty of life, it's here and gone, and all of life and death is here, on display, on the ghats, in the old city of Varanasi.
Every evening around sunset, hundreds of people gather at the main ghat to witness the Ganga Aarti. It's a Hindu ceremony, a puja, where fire is used as an offering to the goddess Ganga of the river Ganges. I walked along the river from my hotel, which was about a 45-minute walk.
Be careful for your money, purse, camera and mobile.
The mystical experience is nothing other than becoming aware of your true physical connection to the universe. Becoming aware.
I was given a blessing, more or less unsolicited, and it cost me the change in my pocket.
The mystical experience. And you're amazed, thunderstruck.
Varanasi is one of my favorite cities I've ever visited. Everything about it, the sounds, the smells, the chaos. It's truly the most different place that I've ever visited. The most different place from home. I love Varanasi. I hope to come back. If I didn't have a schedule, I'd absolutely stay for a few more days. The next day, I got up early because I was heading to Sarnath, the place where Buddha gave his first teaching after attaining enlightenment. It's one of the 4 most holy Buddhist sites in the world.
At home we have the same traffic problems, but not with cows.
Buddha came to preach his message of the middle way to nirvana after achieving enlightenment in Bodh Gaya, where I had visited last week. He gave his very first teaching here, in Sarnath. In the 3rd century BC, Emperor Ashoka erected this monument in honor of the Buddha. Along with Bodh Gaya, this is one of the 4 most holy pilgrimage sites in the world for Buddhists to visit. I hung out for the day and then headed back to Varanasi. These last few days in Varanasi have been extraordinary. I certainly can't put it into words, pictures, or even video. It's a city that needs to be experienced. I could have stayed here for weeks. But the next leg of my trip was booked, and I was headed south to the jungle and the beaches of Goa.
Look around. Do you need tuk-tuk, sir?
I was flying to the west coast of India, Goa. I was going to be staying in a small village called Agonda, and I'd arranged to stay with a friend of a friend, but I hadn't heard from him at all in the last few days, so I didn't know if he was going to show up or not. When I arrived at the airport in Goa, he was nowhere to be found. I met a girl from the UK, and we shared a taxi for the 2-hour drive to Agonda. Well, my host finally showed up. Unfortunately, his place was just a disaster. It wasn't what I was expecting at all. Standards might be okay for somebody who was a total budget traveler and didn't mind where they were staying. I wasn't interested and decided to look for a new place the next day. Agonda is a small, quiet beach village away from the party scene in the north. The cows are super chill here, and it's a good place to chill out after the busyness of North India. I met a few friends and spent New Year's on the beach. Sand between the toes.
I do this press, press the flower. So I will press it in a book.
Prior to coming to India, I had arranged to shoot a documentary about beekeeping at an organic spice farm in the area. In Goa, I had met a British filmmaker and we decided to work together. Tanshikar Spice Farm is a small family-run business. Chimnoy and his family give tours and sell spices and honey from their farm. He started beekeeping a few years ago, and we were there to interview him and film a documentary about the local practices of Indian beekeeping. We were staying overnight at one of the eco-lodges on the farm, and our rooms were a few minutes' walk through the jungle.
I've never quite been brought to a hotel like this.
Here you can see also queen bee of stingless honey. So these bees cannot sting, but they annoy you. They just try to stuck in your hairs and only hairs, ears, they go everywhere. This is a bird, not human being. Whistle like a human being. It's a Malabar whistling thrush. Always whistle like this in the early in the morning and the late evening. In the daytime, it's only long whistle. You can have. Please. It's nice with a pollen also inside, yeah? Anyway.
The whole thing?
Yeah. Just suck it.
Oh, thank you so much. Which one should I try?
There are pollen also inside, so it's more healthy.
It's so different than our honey.
And squeeze it so it drips.
Pretty cool digs here. This is Tanjakar Spice Farm. They've got eco lodges in the jungle here. I was shooting a documentary yesterday and gonna get some more shots today. This is my little room here. The awesome bathroom. The next day, Adele and I headed back to the coast, to the village of Patnam, but I was growing tired of the beach scene and wanted to get back to traveling, so I found a driver who would drive me to Panjim, the capital of Goa, a 2-hour drive north. Panjim is the capital of Goa, and it's totally different than any place I've been in India so far. It's very European. Nice cobblestone roads, nice churches, lots of friendly dogs, no cows in the streets. I was wandering around town and then I found a boat that was taking a tour of the harbor. I was the only Western tourist on board, and soon enough I had lots of selfie requests. I think I took a picture with every single passenger on the boat. And then... Later that night, I bumped into some friends that I had met at Tanjakar Spice Farm. We had dinner together, and then I went back to my hotel to try and figure out the next leg of my trip. I only had the hotel booked for the night and had no idea what I was going to do tomorrow. Then I remember a friend telling me about these cool Buddhist caves he had visited a few years ago with his wife. I booked a flight on my phone. Tomorrow, I was heading to Aurangabad. was heading north to the city of Aurangabad. There was a flight change partway through my trip, but I was told to stay on the plane. The thing is, I was the only one left on the plane. Everybody left. And then suddenly, the cleaning crew barged on and cleaned the whole plane in about 3 minutes flat.
Chocolate chips.
See right there, there's a little yellow cabana on the other side of the bridge. That's where I'm headed. Chocolate and chips.
Okay, so I'm in the city of Aurangabad. The next couple days I'm going to be exploring the Ellora Caves and the Ajanta Caves. This city is Buddhist, Muslim, and about 60% Hindu. So it's an interesting, sort of an interesting mix. But today I'm just sort of exploring. I might actually go to the zoo, not sure. Might visit the old Muslim quarters. But looking forward to seeing what this new state has to offer.
Alright, so what the heck? I decided to pay my 20 rupees and see the zoo. I just want to see a leopard.
So far I haven't actually seen any animals yet. Well, a few penguins. So I realized after wandering around for a while and sort of getting laughed at for getting my picture taken on a camel that the animals are in a different section of the zoo. So now it won't be statues of animals, it'll be real animals, like these guys.
What's up with the garden hose, buddy? Even in zoos, there's always banging and something going on in India.
The school kids here all have whistles and like air horns, and they like to blast the animals out of their sleep like that. I'm not actually going to film much here because it's a pretty sad state of affairs here at the zoo. Really feel sorry for the animals.
Slither sliding across my floor, wriggling your slender body. Slither, slender, slider, sleuth, won't you stop to say hello?
So the other thing I noticed is the zoo actually seems to be a place where a lot of sort of young couples come out to hang out.
there's not a lot of foreigners in Aurangabad. It's a little bit off the beaten track. So I kind of feel like I'm kind of part of the zoo here. So in conclusion, I suppose if you want to get out of the chaos of the city of Aurangabad and have a little bit of peace and quiet, I suppose you can come here. But I would kind of give this a miss because it's pretty pathetic. Oh, got some rabbits here. Anyway, over and out. Reporting from the zoo of Aurangabad. Better things to do.
I headed back to the hotel, ordered a plate of the spiciest chili peanuts ever served in India, then hit the bed early because tomorrow I was heading to the Ajanta Caves, about a 2-hour drive from Aurangabad.
So these are the Ajanta Caves that I'm heading down to. The Ajanta Caves are ancient Buddhist caves, and I'm really looking forward to seeing these. It was about a 2-hour drive from Aurangabad, but I'm now walking down, and we'll see what we find.
Instead of going to the main gate, I had the driver drop me off at a mountain trail that would take me down to the far end of the caves, which would have fewer tourists.
The Ajanta Caves were discovered, I always love how they say discovered, by an English guy who was out hunting tigers. There's lots of amethyst to be found in this area. So far, with the 2 brief stops we've made, I've had the hard sell for amethyst crystals, people selling crystals. So I'm walking down this path and there's essentially nobody here with me at all. I decided not to hire a guide. I was told that the guides do their best to rush you through the caves as quickly as possible so that they can get to the next tour. So I'm really looking forward to this.
Ajanta is a series of 29 Buddhist cave monuments carved out over 2,000 years. The caves were used as a retreat during the monsoon for monks, as well as for traveling merchants and pilgrims in ancient India.
So I gotta say, this is causing a little vertigo for me. These last steps here were extremely steep and I sort of picked my way down. I'm not actually really, well, I am scared of heights, but what I'm scared of is I get vertigo and my head starts spinning, and I'm more worried about just passing out on the edge of a cliff than the cliff itself, so I'm picking my way down slowly. I'm actually going to stop the camera for a minute and just take all of this in because it's actually pretty extraordinary here. Beautiful. You can see just over my shoulder there, that's where I walked from and came down through the mountain over the top from the viewpoint, bought some amethyst from a local farmer.
The Ajanta Caves are one of the oldest UNESCO World Heritage Sites in India. Dating back to the 2nd and 1st centuries BC, the paintings and sculptures of Ajanta are considered masterpieces of Buddhist religious art.
These caves are just absolutely gorgeous. Frescoes painted on the ceilings. These were carved out over a number of centuries. Simply amazing. Really truly amazing. Just a quick story. I was just attacked by a monkey. I bought some bananas for lunch, and there's monkeys, spider monkeys all over the place here. And no sooner than I had taken it out of my knapsack here and I started to eat it, this monkey was all over me. It was a big monkey and he wasn't going away. I started screaming at him. One of the security guards came and between the two of us we chased it off. And the other tourists thought it was pretty funny. And I do now, but at the time, not so much. That actually scared the bejesus out of me. Haven't you always wanted a monkey?
The mystical experience is nothing other than becoming aware of your true physical relationship to the universe. Becoming aware of your true physical relationship to the universe.
What is your country?
मेरे देश से कनाडा हो.
Canada.
Canada. Lacus. कहाँ पहुँचने?
Do you like India?
I love India.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Which country?
मेरे देश से Canada.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Your country?
India.
India.
I'm Indian.
Nice country.
Nice country. Okay, thank you. I'm teacher. All the boys.
Oh, you're the
students.
teacher.
I'm
Oh, okay.
student.
What is your name?
My name is Atharva.
Atharva.
Atharva. Ah, okay.
It's mean Ganpati, Ganesh, Lord Ganesh.
Oh, Ganesh. My Hindu family called me Kus.
Kus.
Yeah.
Okay.
Son of Lakus.
Laukus.
Lakus.
उसमें से
No.
first. This is Soham.
Soham.
Ah.
Hi, Soham.
And this is Ashwin.
Ashwin. Hello,
Hi,
Ashwin.
Hello, Ashwin. Hi, Karu.
Hello.
This is Atharva, Mali.
Atharva Mali.
Ah. This is Tejas.
Kejas. Hi, Kejas.
And this is Sushant.
Is there a test?
Sushant.
Sashan.
This is Shantanu.
Shantanu.
This is Onkar.
Onka.
And
Nice.
this one
This-
is Prashad.
Prashad.
Take photo
Yes.
Prashad.
Nice.
Ah.
Everybody say namaste.
Namaste.
Yeah, all right.
Ah.
Where are you going? Kahan Tanjane.
I'm journey Shangli to Shangli.
Oh, Shangli. Oh, okay.
Shangli,
Okay.
Shangli. This is our Mount Shibai.
Ah.
This is.
Hello.
Take one selfie.
Hello.
Mount
My Hindi Toro.
Toro. You're speaking nice Hindi.
Oh,
Nice
bad Hindi.
No.
Bad Hindi.
This is your country. So you speaking nice.
Ah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Dhanyavad.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay.
Bye.
Dhanyavad. Bye. They're almost magical looking.
Today I was heading to the Ellora Caves, about a 45-minute drive from Aurangabad. I didn't know much about Ellora, but I knew it was one of the largest rock-cut monastery temples in the world. There's over 100 caves at the site, and 34 of them are open to the public. I decided to start at the end and work my way back.
The center of Zen training is the Lotus Fountain.
So today I'm at the Ellora Caves, and these are ancient Hindu sculptures. But the kind of exciting thing for me is just right over my right shoulder here, don't know if you can see it, but there's a wild colony of honeybees, which is kind of cool. I've been pointing it out to people as they come along, and nobody seems to be as impressed as I am. See the marquee? That's how you say it, marquee? In Hindi? Marquee. Okay.
Beehive.
Yes.
That is beehive.
In Canada, I'm a beekeeper. So I saw, as soon I was like, oh, nice. Exactly, yes. Better honey, big
So
beehive.
your profession is that?
No, hobby. Hobby.
Ah, that's what I'm
The center of Zen training is the Lotus Fountain.
So just behind me here, I'm going to show you in a second, but there's a number of people doing some hard work, very, very hard work, chipping stones, I'm assuming for pathways here.
Towards the end of the day, I was super tired and almost decided to skip the very last cave. Although it had an impressive entrance, it looked busy, and after 33 caves and temples, I was pretty much done for the day. Then I thought, what the heck, I might as well go have a quick look. Yeah, good decision. Carved out of a single rock, the Kailasha Temple is one of the largest of its kind in the world, with sculptures depicting the gods, goddesses, and mythologies found in Hinduism. The amazing thing is that the entire complex was carved vertically from a single piece of stone. Carvers started at the top of the original rock and excavated downward. It was an incredible place, and it's a bit crazy to think I almost skipped it.
I see you out there in the cold. I see you. You're shining. Don't you have some place to go? I see you shining, angel. Don't you have some place to go?
Okay, one selfie.
Sure.
Okay. Come on. Everybody come on.
I get a selfie too though, okay?
Okay.
Namaste. So I got to say that the Elora Caves have simply been just pretty much astounding. I came to this area for the Ajanta Caves, which are Buddhist caves, about maybe 100 kilometers or so from here. The Elora Caves are, of course, based on Hinduism. There's a little bit of Buddhism, and this was done over a period of about 1,000 years. Truly remarkable. If you ever get a chance to come to India and visit the Elora Caves, highly recommended. Much quieter now. The school kids have all gone home. They were just like literally throngs and throngs of kids. Lots and lots of selfies today, which I was more than happy to participate in. Give me a chance to practice my Hindi, which is Tola Tola, and the kids got to practice their English. So all in all, fantastic day.
After arriving in Mumbai and finding my taxi driver, we headed to the hotel I had booked the day before, an almost 2-hour drive through the city. It quickly became clear to me that the driver had no idea where the hotel was, and we spent another hour driving in circles. Eventually we found it, and by this time it was after midnight, and the hotel had given my room to someone else. With some late night scrambling and some help with my friend Abbas at India Someday, I managed to find a room and crash for the night.
What do you call this? No?
After checking out India Gate and some of the local markets, I wandered a little bit outside the city center and found myself in the marina and the fish processing center. Watching these ladies peel the shrimp reminded me of my job at the fish market. I peeled lots of shrimp back in my day. Not a fun job. Later in the afternoon, I found my way to the small office of India Someday and got to meet Abbas and his staff, who helped me with the planning of my trip and provided great support along the way. If you need help planning an independent trip to India, I highly recommend these guys. They were a huge help in arranging my homestays and transportation. End of a journey. On the taxi ride to the airport, I was finding it hard to believe the trip was coming to an end. I'd met a lot of good people over the last few weeks and saw some extraordinary places.
Guru and Khan.
I learned about Indian culture, history, religion, and even a few new dance moves along the way. And although it took me a long time to finally visit this amazing country, it was the right time for me. I was ready to go back to regular life and hopefully bring some new perspectives back with me. Like patience, understanding, compassion, and a reminder of how fortunate we are living in the West. We have so much to be grateful for. I hope to be back to India someday.